Hello there, and a very warm welcome to another edition of Channels Beam. I am Victor Matthias. Now, according to a 2019 report by the Central Bank of Nigeria, it was estimated that over 1.2 million metric tons of poultry meat is smuggled into the country. Now, this opens a huge gap that must be filled either by private individuals, startups, or even government establishments, which will in turn further boost the economy and create employment for the teeming unemployed youths in the country. And joining us to find out how this gap can be filled or bridged is Kenneth Obiajulu. He is a disruptive innovation specialist with deep roots in agriculture, food security, and livelihood development. He is currently the co-founder and CEO of AgriCorp International, and he joins us via Zoom from Lagos. Kenneth, it's a pleasure to have you on the program today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Indeed, you're welcome. So let's begin with the availability of the requisite skill and even capacity, by farmers, now we can put it that way, poultry farmers, to fill this gap, that already exists in the country.
I mean, I believe that our farmers have the requisite knowledge, skill sets to be able to fill the gap. Availability of infrastructure for them to be able to increase productivity. Issues are around the costs of raw materials like feed and other inputs required. So I think our farmers have the requisite knowledge and expertise to be able to meet this gap.
All right, so let's look at investment, either in existing businesses or capacity building for those who are intending to be part of this space. Where are we in terms of that?
So, I mean, I think that there are lots of poultry farmers in Nigeria that, like you rightly know, more than 80% of our farming population belong to the smallholder category, So there's also a need for us to be able to broaden their perspective when it comes to issues around medium to large scale production. So capacity building in the areas of how to be able to optimize or increase the production of what they are used to, right? How they are able to also reduce the losses that are incurred, during the production phases, as much as possible, trying to keep the mortality rates as low as possible would help in enhancing the volume that is made available to the public or to the market, But in terms of exact capacity building, interventions, we're talking about more around, veterinary services, around in their productivity and reducing post-harvest losses, especially in the livestock value chain.
Okay, well, that seems, to lead me to my next question, which is, for those who already are, like you said, these farms exist, but one of the things that, that is sometimes a problem is market access. I mean, let's even say, for someone like you now at AgriCorp, I mean, you have the access to the bigger market, so to speak. Now, what was the partnership possibility of a corporation like you, with small holdout farmers to give them this access to that wider market now, so to speak?
So I think, the market is huge. It's I think there's a lot more demand than even supply. So issues around access or in access of the market or the farmers to the market might not necessarily come up, right? As a major player, we produce all of our poultry ourselves in our facility in 3 locations. We're also partnering with smallholder farmers, in those various jurisdictions as well, to see how we're able to train them on good agronomic practices, to train them on, good livestock practices, and how they're able to connect their produce to our facilities to ensure that, they're able to have guaranteed supply, of their produce to, players like us and, other major processors and, market players as well. So I think it's not an issue of access to market. It's more of an issue of the market or the production not being substantially enough to meet up with the demand for poultry.
All right. I mean, if you're talking about the production being enough, the issue of investment will also coming. Where are the investors? I mean, because you're not only into poultry farming, you also have at Agricorp. I mean, other stuff you're doing, of which you were able to raise about $17.5 million. So this is not from the outside. What about from the inside? And are you even on your own part? Are you investing in small holder farmers?
So I think that there's a large misinformation about what agriculture represents, and the perceived risk, associated with agriculture. What we have been able to do as a business has been to demonstrate our capacity to show that agriculture is profitable and it's a medium to long-term investment. I think one of the biggest challenges that lots of businesses or investors see in the market is the horizon for investment is not short-term. As such, it's very important for we businesses that are in agriculture and both in livestock and in the other areas to be able to demonstrate this capacity and de-risk these opportunities for investors to be able to see. So locally, we believe that there are several interventions that smallholder farmers, medium-scale and large-scale farmers have the capacity to be able to draw down on. I can't begin to mention various finance opportunities locally that lots of people can access. But the question is, do you have a robust model that has been slightly de-risked and has the capacity to be able to meet up with financial returns for financial partners, but at the same time also delivering on impact. So to the case of investors where they are, I think they're readily available. Everyone knows that agriculture and food market is one of the biggest markets that Africa presents. The World Bank has estimated that the African food market will hit a $1 trillion mark by 2030. As such, I think there is a clamoring for investors to be able to take part of this pie, and it comes down to what models you're implementing and how you're able to provide a level of comfort for the investors to be able to make those investments both locally and internationally.
All right. Lastly, before I let you go, Kenneth, let's look at job creation, in the space. Of course, like I said, there are a lot of people who are out there who don't have jobs. But how can they come in this instance? How can they be a part of this? I mean, of course, by accessing all of the finance and all of that, how can they get jobs, or how can this sector create jobs for those who are willing and learning to follow, the blueprint like Agricorp?
So one of the things that we've also seen is, in trying to demonstrate capacity for people to join the space, is go just in the hands of entrepreneurs, people that are agricultural, holding them by the hand and showing them how these things are done. A typical example of what we've been able to do over time. In our poultry program, we invested heavily in acquiring 3 million poultry birds, annual poultry bird capacity, but we embedded an entrepreneurship program underneath our model, such that we own youth entrepreneurs that have zero to no knowledge of poultry. And because we know that poultry is not rocket science and it can be learned on the job, we have been able to support these entrepreneurs in demonstrating how to be able to grow poultry birds, how to be able to meet the numbers that is required. And in our last, circle, we were able to see that they were able to meet with industry standards and be able to scale from there. And we've been able to demonstrate that they have the capacity to be able to produce if you're able to hold their hand all through the way. And we're beginning to see even nationally now making an attempt to invest in them. So I think that's what we're trying to do, and these are the ways to also get into the space.
All right, very well, Kenneth Obiajulu, I have to say thank you for joining us today and sharing your thoughts on this, and hopefully this gap that exists will be filled sooner rather than later. Thanks again for joining us on the program.
Thank you so much.